Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Skater Things. Oh my goodness,
Episode 2.
we made it to
Yay.
episode 2, everyone.
I can't believe that. Who would have thought we
Crazy.
would have never gotten to episode 1?
The
Yeah,
most it's the most like rare moment ever. You can get a blue moon and it's more common than this.
But
that
a
is
second
so true.
episode of Skater Things? What?
A second episode of
Oh.
Skater Things is more rare than like getting
Ooh.
shiny Pokemon is nowadays.
When I was when it was funny because when I was a kid, when I had an old
Yesterday.
YouTube channel. This is a long time ago. Whenever I would always make like an episode 1 to a different game. I would never continue a series. I had a Minecraft survival, I only have one video of a Sim City game. I
Episode
only have
1.
one video of.
Next
I
game.
would just
Episode
always
1.
start. I would just always start a new like series rather than like actually continuing the one I'd started. It was great.
That's
Oh my
great.
goodness. Speaking of that, today I was going through my YouTube channels and stuff like that because I have like multiple Gmail accounts and such. And I found the one that I used for like school and stuff. Like I did school projects and stuff back in middle and high school on this channel.
Oh, wow.
And I looked at the subscription feed and it had my original first YouTube channel that I ever did. And it was a small channel that amassed 5 subscribers back in 2012. And I
Oh
heard
man.
my prepubescent voice for like the first time in like so many years. And
Oh.
oh my god, I sounded awful. Like it was the worst experience ever. And it's crazy because that was like a
I
collab channel. And I had a friend back then named Smile and Wave, who I don't know anymore. Like I talked to them for like 3 months, and then they just disappeared off the face of the earth for some reason. So
Oh man. Yeah, it's always it's always a fun journey when you go and look at your old sort of like YouTube videos. I had like 2 old accounts. I had one that nobody on Skade will know about, and this is
Is
one
that
that
the one
now
I
my
heard?
no.
Little kid
So this
Evan
is
is adorable.
there's even littler little kid Evan as well. That's the funny thing. So there was that channel which all of you know about, but then there's a channel that I made even longer ago, which was way before my Minecraft days, and it's basically my mother's channel now because it was made under her email, so she now uses it for personal stuff. But at the time, I was using it to make YouTube videos. I did Lego review videos. I also did,
Lego review
and then
Lego
videos.
review.
I then
Oh,
also
we need to see this.
Oh, I also moved on to like okay, so then I moved on to Lego stop motion animation because that was a big thing on YouTube in the early 2010s. Like I don't know how else to describe it. Lego animations were just a massive thing on YouTube back then. And then I moved on to like playing online Flash games for a little bit. And then I also tried doing stick figure animation as well. Like I had a whole list of things I was doing back then, and it's all so cringe. My most popular video amassed 10,000 views, and it was
Wow.
me doing a tutorial on how to punch a stick figure in a realistic way. But the best part is it's me literally just copying somebody else's tutorial in the video. You actually see me minimize. You see me alt tab, play the video of the person I'm copying, and then go back into the into the stop motion animation thing, and then just copy it. It was bad. I'll have to find the videos, but they're all like private, and some of them got deleted because it was just so old. But yes, there is a even littler kid Evan art. There's even a time where I played Lego games. I did a video of me playing the Lego Harry Potter series,
Oh,
and
that's
you could
fun.
actually see me in the reflection of the TV because I was using a camcorder mounted on some books because I didn't understand the concept of like an Elgato to like record the gameplay. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I
Anyway, that's a whole
remember
tirade about me.
like playing games back before I knew what Minecraft was. And one of them was like this game called Fable. Not like the actual game Fable, but like there was a Flash game called Fable as well that was like of a night. Like it was a side scroller, but it was like it you know how like in theaters they have like each stage scene and stuff like that. It would just
Right.
swap over to a
Yeah.
new stage scene every time, like a PowerPoint basically, in order for you to keep progressing through the game. And it was fun, but it is something that I just do not remember how to access, and I don't even know if it's on the internet anymore. But that was how I played games before Minecraft, before I was like 12, 11 years old.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Like I grew up on YouTube. Like I think my earliest memory is being a 5-year-old watching YouTube videos. Like I don't have many memories of my childhood without YouTube at least being somewhere in the picture, because like the internet and like just the online world is just all I've really known. It's I can't imagine a world without it. I
Mhm.
mean I can, but it's like it's just so embedded. It was so embedded into my childhood. Like it's just crazy. Like I could go on for hours about like the rabbit holes I used to go down because like YouTube in the early 2010s, late 2000s was a different time. It was all random as hell. Like there was no structure to it. Nowadays you have
It was a
YouTube
Wild
channel
West back
genres.
then.
It was literally you could have a video of a cat eating like some yogurt that went viral. You could have a video of somebody jumping off like a cliff, doing a cliff diving thing for like 10 million views. Like it was just a different time back then. I will always there was something quite raw and quite organic about it. There was no like profiteering, there was no like maximizing views. YouTube is a very structured, very business oriented platform now, but back then it was literally just here's a basically a file sharing platform that other people can look at the same time.
Oh yeah. I definitely kind I don't know if I miss those days necessarily, cuz like for me I was more like huge into YouTube back in 2012,
Yeah.
2011 when Minecraft first became popular on YouTube. But I did watch
Uh-huh.
other videos, but like it was always a scenario where like friends recommend me videos for the first time and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like I
Yeah,
remember
I get
watching a
that.
bunch of Smosh's old videos, but only because I was recommended it from other people. I never like went
Mhm.
out of my way to actually like watch Pokemon in real life one or something. I just heard about it by ear.
I think like
Hi, Shira.
every game I played growing up was like basically because I saw a YouTube video of it. Like that's how I knew what to play. Like I had some friends who would tell me about some games to play, but like I would say 90% of the games I played growing up were not through word of mouth, but through it came up in my video list. There's a person playing this game. This thing looks quite cool. I now need to get this thing and play it myself.
Oh yeah. Well, as much as I love talking about YouTube, Shira, stop eating Pixie's food. Sorry, my cat came in. My roommate's cat came into my room while you were talking. Uh, wow. Uh, I lost my train of thought already. Blue, what are we doing here today?
We're at Skater Things episode 2. Let's go. That's very exciting. Remember, this is number 2. Also, we were gonna talk to Evan about Norway because we lost Evan for a week to our fellow Norwegian skaters. And Evan, did you want to talk a little bit about that? What it's like to meet other skaters?
Oh yeah, I think it's a very very exciting topic to talk about. So, how should I sort of begin this? Should I maybe give a bit of backstory on like kind of how this kind of came around and like how
Yeah.
I first met the Norwegians?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So obviously on Skade, there's just a variety of different people who come from different cultures, and one of those people is a good friend of mine, Teli. And Telly and I kind of like became acquainted not long after the community first opened, but I think we started to get to know each other and have like a more personal conversation and like friendship, probably around a
I
year and
set
a
them up
half.
together, Obby. I set them up on a play date. Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh.
I
she kind
know.
of pushed me and Telly in the direction of each other because we have a lot
Hmm.
in common. We have very similar interests. And
I set them up on a bro date.
even if we don't have the same interests, we also do have the same respect for those things. So it was a very natural friendship. And Blue made a very good judgment there because we actually did find each other really getting along very well. We had a very casual friendship, and we would like play stuff on Skate together. Sometimes he would stream games and I'd watch. Sometimes we'd be playing like GTA and Restricted, and then he would join us. But yeah, like our friendship really blossomed. Like we would just talk about like like very like relevant topics, political topics, history related topics, like all sorts of stuff like that. So it was a really really natural and organic friendship. But the idea of meeting Telly never really crossed my mind. It wasn't something I would ever have ruled out as impossible. I think everybody on Skade I could see in the future somehow meeting, but you don't really think about it. You don't go, okay, here's this person on Skade, I'm going to meet them, because it takes a lot of setup. Obviously, everybody has a different financial situation. The further a person is away, the harder it is to meet them. Like, obviously, it's easier to meet somebody in your own country when they only live 100 miles away than it is to fly to Australia to meet somebody. There's a reason I still haven't gone there yet. But me and Telly just continued becoming really good friends. We sort of became a lot closer, and as sort of fate would have it, Telly was traveling to the United Kingdom, specifically to Scotland, to visit some family. He was visiting family in Scotland, you see. So I kind of just remarked that, oh, that's funny. Like, where you're going isn't actually that far from me. Like, I live very northern. I live in like the north of England. So I'm not that far from
Oh,
Scotland.
basically
I'm
you
kind of near the
rizzed up
border.
Telly. You
I
went up.
rizzed up Telly.
Yeah.
I sweet talked him into, I sort of just rizzed him up and sweet talked him into meeting me. I just remarked
Evan
on the
the
fact that
Rizzler.
like I I remarked on the fact that like Scotland is like geographically quite close to England, like and in particular it's very close to where I am because I live in the north of England. So he didn't have to. It's not like me being in the
Go
south
find
of
him,
England, where
guys.
it's like
You know where he's at now, north of England.
where it's not like the south of England where it would be like a 9-hour train from like the top of Scotland down. It's like literally just one train would get you near where I live. So he was like, "Oh, interesting." And so anyway, as time kind of went on, we real like the actual idea of meeting was very heavily entertained, and we kind of realized, "Oh my god, like this is actually a possibility. We could meet." Because he could take a day out of, I think he was there for a week, so he was able to take a day out of that time, and he was able to get on a train and come to a town, because the train doesn't go to my town. The train goes to a town that's about 20 miles from my town, and I was able to drive to the train station and pick him up. So we actually got to spend a day together. So I took him around my town. We talked about skate stuff. We just sort of bonded. Had a really nice time together. But obviously, because he was on limited time and he wasn't actually in England to see me, he was in the United Kingdom to see his family. He had to
Yeah.
go. So everything kind of ended there. And I thought, well, that's awesome. We got to meet. And I would have thought it doesn't matter if we never meet again. We got to meet once, and it was a really amazing time. And he had a nice time, and I had a nice time, and that was kind of it. But then we kind of looked at. So my mother had kind of suggested, like, I want to go to Australia, but I've never traveled abroad on my own before. First time I ever traveled to another country, like on a plane, was to Spain in December.
And that was
So my
with
mother said it
family,
might be
right?
yeah, that was my grandmother. That was alone with her. So my mother suggested traveling to a country that's closer to home on my own first before going around the entire world, which is a very sensible thing to suggest.
Yeah. I would
Um,
say very sensible.
very, very sensible because it can be quite daunting. So I
Yeah, I'm
was
just
like,
gonna fly
okay.
to a time zone that's like 8 hours away from me. If you want to contact me, you have to do it like at 7 p.m. at night in order to
Yeah,
get me just while I'm waking up.
lot of logistics. My mother's like didn't doubt my capability of doing it. She just said it might be a lot more. It's better to have a nice time in a closer country, so that then you've got a good sort of precedent for when you go further, which is very sensible. So I said, like, where do you have in mind? Like, where would be a good place for me to go? Then I've already been to Spain. I'd like to go somewhere else if I'm not going to go to Australia next. And she said, why not Norway? And she said, I was looking into it. It looks like it would be within your price range. It looks like it's relatively close. And I, for your birthday, would be happy to put some money towards the trip. And I'm sure Grandma would too. And so that's sort of how it started. And this was probably in, I want to say June or July. So I started talking to Telly about it, because obviously, like, Telly lives in a different area of Norway to the capital city, of course. He doesn't live next door to the airport, as convenient as that would be. So obviously I sort of started coordinating with Telly, like, how should I come down to visit you? Like, how far is it from Oslo? All of that stuff. And we kind of just discussed the plan from there, and it really just sort of blossomed into this, oh my god, this is actually gonna happen. And so I booked everything and I flew. So basically, how it kind of went is I flew to Oslo. I spent the night in Oslo, right outside the airport. I took the train from Oslo airport into Oslo.
Did
Then
you
I
do
took the
anything
train
while in
from
Oslo or no?
No, unfortunately, because it was a really long way. And I won't disclose where it was in Norway, but it was a long way. So it was about a 6 hour train ride, a bit lower than that actually. And so because of that, it wasn't really ideal for me to spend time in Oslo. Like I didn't have time to
Yeah.
really do that. So it's for another time, sadly. So I basically, in the morning on the Monday, I got up really early. I took the train from the airport to the like main train station of Oslo, and then I took the train from Oslo to where Teli lives, and that was a long train ride. And because of its length, is why I skipped out on kind of looking around Oslo because I wanted to maximize the time I could spend with Teli and all of them in Norway. So yeah, I did that, and I'll get into some of the more specifics in a minute. But basically, I did that. I had a hotel where I was spending the entire time in Norway there, and then we went out to Stavanger, and then we went to Flekkefjord, and then we went back to where Telly lives, and then I spent the rest of the time there, and then I took the train back to Oslo, and I took the train from Oslo to the same hotel I stayed in at the airport, and then the following day after that, I flew home.
So
So
you
that was kind of
spent
how I broke it down.
so you spent an entire week with Telly, Ragnar, and their entire friend group, basically, right? Like you were
Pretty
with them the
much.
entire time?
So the only time I wasn't with them was the Sunday of each day, respectively. So the Sunday I arrived in Norway and the Sunday that I left Norway. So apart from that, I spent literally a full like 5 days with all of them, which was a lot of fun.
And
There were a couple days where I didn't see DVG because he was busy.
and did you like sleep inside their houses, or did you get like a hotel in the area for it?
So I got a hotel where Telly lives, and the only reason I did that is because I thought, even if I end up staying the night there, it's nice to have like a main place I can come back to at any time. It's nice to have my own little personal space because, like, even when you're going on holiday and seeing somebody, you also still need some downtime from each other. It can be very
That is true.
overwhelming being around somebody, and I know, like, not even from my perspective, but from Telly's perspective, he's going to want some time away from me, which is perfectly valid. So I thought a hotel just means that if I use it for the entire time I'm there, great. If I don't use it for a single night, cool. At least I had it so that I could have that space. So the only time that I spent the night in Telly's house was when we were in Flekkefjord. I spent the night there because we found it was easier to spend the night there and then go back to where Telly lives the following day.
Hmm.
Apart from that, I was in a hotel of my own the entire time.
Okay. Because I know that when I did a trip to visit a friend, when I went
Hmm.
to visit one of my friends from past, I did get a hotel, even though I was gonna spend a lot of time with them, just because I
Hmm.
did want to have that little escape area, that little place where I can just go back to and de
Exactly.
charge from, I guess, all that social interaction.
Yeah.
I am a lot
Yeah.
more
Absolutely.
socially inclined. Like I consider myself more of an extrovert than an introvert, but
Hmm.
there is a limit to me. Like
Of course.
I can't go an entire week for sure talking to just one person over and over the entire week. That would
Oh,
be
absolutely.
yikes.
One thing I really liked that Evan pointed out is it's not even just for him too, it's for Telly too. Telly needed away time just as much as Evan needed some away time. Because again, if you're with someone 24/7, as even if you're having a really good time, it can still be overwhelming. Even on very
Oh yeah,
positive experiences, it can be overwhelming.
I completely
I
agree.
like how
And
you did bring that in, Telly's thoughts into it too.
of course, like me and my mother really discussed that as well. It's like, we're both autistic, but even if we weren't autistic, I still think it would have been very important because as Obby very rightly points out, everybody has a limit. If you're with somebody and you're joined at the hip all day and all night, it can get very, very overwhelming. So it was very nice to have that kind of place to come back to. It was nice to have some alone time and some me time, and I actually had a fair bit of it when I was in Norway. There were some days where I didn't see Telly until like the afternoon, which was nice because it meant that I got to enjoy the holiday on my own too. Like it
Like
wasn't it wasn't
swimming.
all
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. But no, like jokes aside, like absolutely. It was nice to do that, and I think that although obviously the main reason I was there was to see Teli, it was still a holiday. It was still nice for me to experience some bits that I wanted to do as well. So I feel like I
Yeah.
got like the perfect balance where I was seeing Teli and enjoying Teli, Ragnar, and DVG's company while still having some me time too, which I think was really important. Um, so I think it was done like I think it was planned really well, but it was very scary. Like the entire build up to it was very very scary. I wasn't fully like processing all of it. Like the day really crept up on me. It was like a month before it's like this is a thing in the future, and then like the day before I was set to fly it's like oh my god, like this is actually happening, and it's like I almost was almost like I was in like almost like disbelief, whereas like everything's ready, my bag's packed, I have everything, but I can't quite. I guess I couldn't like rationalize or process that this was actually going to happen. So I almost wasn't really talking a lot about the trip, like at home. Like my grandmother or my mother would say some things and I'd answer some questions or stuff, but I'd also brush a lot of it off, which sounds really weird, but like I just couldn't comprehend that this was actually going to happen. So it was very, very surreal, the entire experience. And very scary too.
I mean, I bet. Anytime that you travel alone, that's like you got to take extra precautions usually. So,
You do, because you have to depend on yourself and you've got a lot of things to think about. Like I was very scared of that because even though I have done very well on my own in certain scenarios, it's a bit of a leap to go from fending for yourself in your own country in your own hotel room to going to another country for a week on your own where they speak a different language, they use a different currency and
yeah.
so many other factors. Like there was a lot of different
Even
things to like
not even
think.
plus the social side of it. Social,
Mhm.
everywhere is different as far as culture goes, and to also
Yep.
try to remember, okay, I can't act like how I act at home. I have to act this way, or there's
Oh yeah.
a lot of that.
That's like a big thing
Oh
with a
yeah.
lot of tourist
Norwegians are
spots.
incredibly quiet people.
They are. And I got tripped up on that a few times because I can be very energetic and I found a lot of their culture very exciting. So I feel like I did the best I absolutely could to be respectful to the culture and very like calm and very humble, but there were times where I would be like, "Oh my god, they have this thing," and I could be a little bit like I could be a bit energetic, and Telly would even say, "Evan, there's this thing called an inside voice." And I'm like, "I
Yes.
know there is. I know that." I know about the inside voice, and I know how important it is, but, like,
Well,
sometimes you just get so blinded by excitement, you just can't help it.
and in our countries, both of our countries, I mean, yeah, you're supposed to have an inside voice. But our
You
cultures
don't.
are louder. We're loud people.
I'm
Americans are
very
very
loud.
loud.
Yes. UK are very loud.
British are very
French are
loud.
extremely loud.
Norwegians are incredibly quiet on a
Oh,
good
I
day.
know, it's
So to have someone of your like I would be, um,
mhm.
yeah, it would be
I
even you not excited would be still probably considered
Oh,
loud.
completely. There
So
was
to be
definitely some
to be excited would just yeah, you'd be like, "I'm
it's
sorry, I'm not from here."
I
Oh
think,
yeah.
like I like to think I kinda reminded myself, though, like, for those times where I definitely would kinda step out a little bit, I had to remind myself there will be plenty of even more ignorant, even more foolish tourists who make an even bigger scene than I do, who will be coming here every day. I am not the worst person they have to deal with. So I kinda reminded myself that even
I
if I
mean, but
am a
you
little
could
bit
be.
like I could be, but I just
Well, the average tourists make it into the college libraries, though, do they? I'm just kidding, Evan.
haha. Um, but no, like I think that it was definitely a lot to think about, and it was very, very like surreal. But I think that I kind of just went into autopilot where I just kind of managed it all, and I think like I really learned from the trip that I actually can really depend on myself very well. And in a lot of ways, like traveling alone was easier than traveling with my grandmother because I only had to worry about myself.
Mm,
When you're traveling with somebody, you definitely have to make sure that they're okay. If you like I don't know, even something silly, like, if I wanna go to the toilet, it's like, "Can I leave my grandmother there while I go and do that?" Like, where am I gonna meet her? Like, it's you have to coordinate a lot of things, and some people do that really well, and I'm sure when you travel with the right people, it's not a problem, but when you don't travel with anybody, there just isn't that in the equation. You just think only of yourself, which can be very, very, like stress free. It can be stressful in its own right because it's now, oh my god, I'm alone. If something happens, only I can solve this. But it also does save some hassle. So it's definitely got some pros and cons, and I definitely learned the pros when I was on my own. But it was very scary, and and my biggest anxiety during the entire trip was messing up the trains, like getting on the wrong train and like putting
Oh
extra
my
hours
goodness.
into going the wrong place because I've never used their trains before. I didn't even know how they worked. So it was very, very scary.
I think I can speak as an American who we don't use trains here in America often, if ever, usually.
Mhm.
And
Ever.
I'll go ahead and watch like Jet Lag, the game on YouTube, and they'll be
Yeah, yeah.
using trains all over the entirety of Europe in order to get to location to
Yep.
location. And I'm like, dang, the amount of scheduling that needs to go into that sounds
Oh,
awful
I
to me.
know.
Like in order
It's
to have to
insane.
be there at a specific time, specific place. And I mean, they do it on steroids. They are literally playing tag across the entirety of Europe
Yeah, they're
versus
doing
like
it like
someone who's just doing it for a
yes.
daily commute is different. But it's just like,
Oh yeah.
okay, that's a lot of like keeping track of all the schedules and everything.
It is a lot to think about, and every culture does it a little bit differently. Like obviously the core idea is the same. You board train, you go in direction of place, and then you get off at your stop. But it is different. The trains look different. The trains arrive at different times. The trains like even this one, okay? So let me give an example here. So in England, when you have a train, so most people use an app nowadays in the digital age. Most people use an app which tells you which train it is, what platform it will be on, right? So
Yeah.
let's say you're at a train station that has 4 platforms. It'll say platform 4, train to whatever, like train to Manchester, 1 p.m. So predictably, the train that comes at platform 4 at 1 p.m. is yours. So the thing is that when you have a platform, because of how we do it, you have platforms. So you don't know what side it's going to be on unless you are familiar with like which direction the tracks are facing in. So you know, oh, that track is going south, that one's going north. You actually have to figure it out. You have to wait until the train arrives to kind of go, oh, this is the one, because each platform is one big platform, but there's a left and a right hand side to it. So you don't. So when you're there, you have to kind of figure out, wait, is my train going to be on this side of the platform or that side of the platform? Norway does it differently. When you go to a train station in Norway, they don't tell you what platform to go to. They tell you what track the train is coming on, which is actually easier. But to a foreigner like me, I was like, oh God, like, is this going to be like a whole new system that I don't understand? So I was overthinking it massively. So when I arrived in Oslo and I had to get the train from Oslo, from the Oslo airport to the Oslo train station, my track was track 4. So I'm thinking, oh God, this is gonna be like a whole thing. So I got a really early train and woke up really, really early so I could get there and really make sure I knew where I was going. Easiest thing I've ever done. It was so funny how much I overthought it. So it's actually an easier system because it tells you what track you're going on. You could be on platform whatever, but that doesn't matter. You know exactly what side of the platform you need to be on because it's based on track, not platform. So track 4 will always be on the left side of X platform. So it's actually less confusing than England. But because it was a different system, I was thinking, oh God, like I'm going to mess this up. I'm not going to know how to do this. But it meant
You
on the
just
way back, it was
overthought
actually
about
the
it.
easiest thing.
Yeah.
100%. But it's like, but even a word being different can throw you because that's not how we do it in England. It's platform, not track.
Mhm.
But actually, now I'm wishing the UK also did it like that because that's easier. You're not having to speculate what side of the platform the train comes in, or be a geography nerd who remembers which way the tracks are going in. But yeah, it was scary, very very scary, and the trains were easy once you use them.
Oh yeah. Honestly, trains in America is like my biggest wish ever. Especially
Yeah,
getting
same.
high-speed rail networks like they have in like
Oh
Japan,
man.
China, and everything like that. Like if I could
Oh
take
my
a
god.
high-speed train to where I live and get to Chicago in less than what, 2 hours? Because right now, if I were to go and drive to Chicago, it'd take me about like 4, 5 hours in order to get there. Like a high speed
Mhm.
train going at 120 miles per hour or whatever that is in kilometers,
Yeah.
I don't know. That would get me there in 2 hours, and I'd just be like, okay, hell yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, the trains are like honestly, I think trains are the best form of transportation in the world. I think like Airplanes are amazing, don't get me wrong, and there are some trips that you have to use a plane for. Like you're not going to get from England to Australia by train. Obviously, you need a plane for that. But my god, our trains are incredible. They're so easy to navigate. They are so the good ones, I'll emphasize. The good trains are very comfortable. They are noise free. They're relaxing. I could see myself like, so we do the thing here, we call it interrailing. It's very normal that people from England or other European countries get on a train and literally go on the trains all across Europe. They go from country to country on them because there's no security, because it's all in the Schengen area, which is basically a region where there's no security. They see the European Union as almost like one country in a way. So you don't have to like do customs or like border control to get from like Switzerland to Germany because it's next door. It's like going from state to state.
Yeah.
So I think trains are incredible, and Norway's trains blew me away because in England our trains are overcrowded, they're very noisy, they're very unreliable. They don't come on time. I thought I was on the wrong train in Norway because it was early. The train I was getting on was early, so I thought, hang on, this can't be right. My train must be the next one. So I got off, and then I was like, "Wait, excuse me." I asked this guy. I said, "Excuse me, is this the train?" I'm not going to say the name because you'll be able to figure out where it goes. But I was like, "Is this the train?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's the one." I was like, "Oh, thanks." So I got back on the train after getting off, but I wasn't used to it. It was shocking to see a train actually on time, and I realized like there is no excuse that England has. We have more money than Norway, and yet we can't do this with our trains. Like, where did we go wrong? So,
Hmm.
yeah, I think
I
trains are
mean,
incredible. I think,
I could probably think of a couple excuses as to why.
well, of course, mostly
Vulky
interest.
here trains. The only train you ever really talk about is an Amtrak, and
The Amtrak, yeah.
it goes across the U.S. In fact, Vulky,
Horribly unreliable sometimes.
yeah. So Schultze, as more people know him by, actually just came and visited me a couple weeks ago, and he came by train. He did the Amtrak, partly because he wanted to do an Amtrak ride, and it's like, well, where can I go? And then
Yeah.
he thought of to come and see me, which was really cool. And but he did a train, and I was like really fascinated by that because here in the U.S. we don't think train, we think flying. You
Oh
fly
yeah.
or you
Yeah,
drive. It's one or the other. And
And it's
it's
definitely
socialized into you.
it's
it's
more
definitely
expensive to do train though.
because
I'll tell you that. We priced it out. It's way more expensive to do train.
Yeah.
oh yeah, and it's also very weird coming from like where because I know where Volky lives too,
Mhm.
and the area that we both live in, we are notoriously known for like long drive commutes are like nothing to us here. We're
Mhm.
in the region of the U.S. that we live in. Like we
Yeah,
see an
that's just
8 hour
normal for you
commute, and
guys.
we are like, okay, we go stop at McDonald's, and then we just drive the rest of the way.
Yep.
Like we do not
Yeah.
care about the long-ish commutes for driving
Yeah.
as much. And so to hear that he took the train, which from what I heard, like it would have actually been faster to take the car there instead of the train.
Yeah,
It's just like
it's like a
feels
2.5
illogical.
hour train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, is this Teli going to
It
me?
was for the experience.
No,
It was
this
for
is
the
for
experience.
Volky going to the
For
For
Vulky, my
Vulky.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
and so hearing that, it's just like, okay, it feels illogical in some aspects, but it's also like I personally have also wanted to do a train before. I don't think I
Yeah.
would have
Same.
done one like as far as Schultze did. I feel like I probably would have done like somewhere probably like north northeast New England territory of the
Oh,
US
you
would
want to
probably
go
be where I would go.
northeast? Go that way. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Maine would
like
be
it's
so pretty.
faster and also looks pretty beautiful over there in the
Hmm.
Appalachian. Uh,
Yeah.
but it is definitely something that I've always been interested in taking trains. I just know because of
Yeah.
how bad it is in America because they don't update their rails ever. I think all of our rails have not been updated since 1900s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it is just logically better to do cars because in America we have transitioned to where we like to use cars more than we like to use trains anyway, which is
Hmm.
sad.
Yeah.
I would like to have more
It's
better long distance public transportation like that.
I
the
would
world
too. Super trains would be great.
the world is very like in particular in America, it's very, very car dependent there. Like everything, the infrastructure, the way that cities are designed is built upon cars. It's cars first and then like trains last. Whereas in European countries, England is also very car dependent, I'll say. We do have like infinitely more trains than America could possibly imagine.
Hmm.
But in comparison to the rest of Europe, our trains are still dreadful because they are very unreliable. You have to do several changeovers. You have to get like, so what I mean by that is you get off a train, get on another one, get off that train, get on another train, which is very inconvenient. But we also are very car dependent, where there are plenty of places where if you live in X area, unlucky, you have to literally drive from there or hope and pray the bus comes once a week. So it's very impressive how Europe has made it so that cars are not the priority, which to Americans almost seems backwards. Why would you not have cars there? But it's like, but actually it's more forward thinking because it means that if you can't afford a car or a car is not something you have the time to learn how to
Yeah.
drive, you have all the other options available. You have buses, you have safe bicycle lanes, you have subways, you have trains, you have all these different options. And yeah, cycling is something more British people want to do. But the reason we don't do it is because we don't have designated cycle lanes. And if we do, they are so
Oh my
tiny that they're
goodness.
not safe. Cycling is dangerous here. Like, you shouldn't do it because it can be really dangerous. But in European countries, like in Norway, there's just a cycle lane everywhere you go, which
Mm,
means like you're never going to be limited. The Netherlands in particular are the best at that. I think the Netherlands
yeah.
outranks every
Honestly, I want to
European
visit
country
the
for that.
Netherlands so badly. I
I do
Me
too.
really
too.
do like cycling. I can't do it as much as I wish I could, but like my
Hmm.
city that I live in is actually a really good area for cycling. Like we have a lot of bike
Yeah.
lanes and we have like trails that are meant for biking, and they're really good and very nice trails. And I want to do more
Hmm.
biking. And specifically because I want to go to the Netherlands because I've heard Netherlands is like the best place in the world to do biking.
It's
So
it's perfect, and I completely agree with you. And it's amazing because they've made it such a normalized thing that it's every single family, every single person cycles everywhere. It's normal that you own a bike and you cycle where you need to go, and it's so beautiful how they've done it. Like there's a YouTuber. He's called Not Just Bikes. And he does videos that talk about how North American infrastructure in particular is very backwards and is too car dependent.
yeah.
And he what he did is he's from Canada and he's traveled around the world a lot, but he ended up moving to the Netherlands because he was so impressed by their urban infrastructure. And he recently got Netherlands citizenship. He now is a permanent resident of the Netherlands because he liked it so much. Him and his entire family moved there, so his kids have been growing up in the Netherlands where it's safer. They can cycle from school every day. Like, I just thought that was really interesting, and it just shows like what is possible, and what can be done. And what I thought, and this is a really interesting message as well from his videos. He talked about how even though the Netherlands are physically removing roads from their country every year, he says ironically, the Netherlands is the best country in the world to drive your car in because everybody is so divided because you have so many people going on trains or cars or buses or anything else. It means there are less people on the road, and because the roads have less people on, they are much easier to drive. So ironically, even though the Netherlands almost seems like a scary country for removing roads, it actually ends up working out better for the car driver. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's crazy. It just shows like the Netherlands was a real window into what the UK lacks, and it wasn't so much I was impressed with Norway as I was disappointed in England because I just think like this country literally makes England look like a struggling third world country. We don't have this money. We don't
Well,
have these
well,
things. It's crazy. I
part
mean, we kind of are at this
partly
point.
is. Yeah.
We kind of
Like I
are at this
remember
point. Our
watching a
economy is
video.
terrible.
I remember watching a video recently that was just talking about how London itself is half the GDP of all of the
Yep.
UK. And it's like,
And
wow,
also, do you
that's
wanna
crazy.
yeah. And you know what's even more fun is the Qatar, the country, own like 20% of London. So it's not even
I just
ours,
learned
most
this.
of it. Yeah,
What?
it's literally like,
Yeah, I just
yeah,
learned
not
this
even
today,
kidding.
like this morning.
Qatar own like 20% of London. They
Did you
most
know
of the
that?
like 20% of it is built by Qatar there, and
That's
like including
crazy.
Canary Wharf, which
I
is the
know I
business
didn't know that
district.
either.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was
no
all
wonder
outsourced.
why it's
So
so rich then.
yeah, literally that is why London is so expensive, and that's why it's done that way. So we can't afford to lose ties with them because if we do, then London just collapses in on itself. So
London
it's a
falls.
mess. It's
London
literally a
Bridge
mess.
is
And
falling
England
down.
and England, like, and Brexit really hit that final nail in the coffin with the trade deals. We lose more money every year than we ever have because of how like the way we left the EU affected that, and that's a whole other conversation.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, the UK's struggling, and Norway really shines a torch on that, and it makes me obviously a country always looks better when you visit it because you're looking at it through a holiday perspective rather than a daily life perspective. But like, you can't argue with facts. It was just a better quality of life and standard there, like in every single way I could measure, and I was really impressed. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, it was. I was very grateful for the experience. I'm very, very happy that I met somebody like Telly. Or I guess I could say I'm very happy I met Blue to meet Telly to
Okay.
do this. Because it was just an unforgettable experience, and it's probably, I hope to achieve more things in life, but it's honestly at this point the greatest achievement I've ever made in my life was traveling to another country alone for a week and having just an incredible time. Like, honestly, it was the happiest I've been, like, probably ever, honestly. Like, just the joy that I felt, the experience, the excitement, like, everything just felt
That's
really good.
crazy. I hope your
I
future
know.
significant other would just be so sad when they realize that they cannot make you as happy as Telly did.
Yeah.
Telly made me more
Um,
happy than you'll ever will. I'm just setting
it
that
was just
expectation right now.
I have to but no, I have to, like, I know it sounds very, like, sappy or, like, egotistical, but, like, I am very proud of myself for it, and it's something I do, like, really smile at, and I'll always remember it, like, forever. So I'm very,
Hey,
very happy that I did it.
hey, Evan, I'm proud of you.
Mhm.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
But do you
I
know what I'm
appreciate it.
also proud of?
What's up?
What?
I'm also proud of skaters meeting skaters, which I will say
Yeah.
earlier when I was talking about trains, I was using that as a gateway into talking about Schultze's train ride so we could
I mean, if
transition
you're
over
talking
to
about
them.
trains in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we just talked about trains in general, which completely fine. I'd love to talk about trains and talk about how I
Yeah.
wish
We're
they were more
autistic.
in
Of course, we
America.
like to talk about trains.
The
Uh,
token autistic interest.
like
Yeah, well,
now,
let's go back though, because it was very relevant. I agree.
yeah. So recording back, uh,
Hey,
Blue, you met
yes,
Schultze. I've met Schultze before. I want to talk about both of
yes.
our experiences meeting Schultze. So
Okay.
I will say that for me, I met Schultze very briefly because we met at an anime convention together. And our interactions were very few and brief. Like one day I spent like probably about like 3 to 4 hours with him. The next day I was so busy doing stuff with like many other friends that I only spent like 30 minutes with him at most. So I did not have as much interaction as I wish I could have had. How much like interaction did you have with Schultze when you met
I
him?
saw him almost every day he was here.
He
He
was
hung out with us for quite a bit. Like a couple of the days he hung out for us for like half the day, if not more. It was my birthday, which was really cool. And he was like, "Pretty cool. I'm here for your birthday." I'm like, "Yes, it's very cool." So he went with myself and Riley and Nin, and we went and saw Beetlejuice. But to go to the movies is like you have to leave our island, so it's a bit of a drive, and you go and it's like we make a whole day of it. Like we went and did some shopping and it was fun and it was really cool to hang out with him outside of hanging out with him on Skade every day. It's so
were you
weird,
able to
like
make eye
when you
contact?
a little bit. Neither of us really make eye contact, so it kind of worked out really well that neither of us really looked at each other like face to face. But we had lots of time to talk, a lot of time to talk and hang out, and that was really cool. It's just so surreal. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're like sitting next to me in my Jeep. Like, it was just kind of weird, like to have someone that's in your ear all the time and in your phone all the time, and now they're like literally in your Jeep is just mind blowing. But and two, it's like you think you know each other until you get together in real life and you realize like
Oh,
mannerisms aren't quite like they're different. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
you know, it's just weird. It was kind of like that too with BB when I met BB. It was kind of similar. It's like I've known you forever, and it takes a little bit to go from like, oh gosh, I'm meeting someone brand new to, oh no, it's just BB or oh, it's just Vulky. It's like there's that little bit of time where it's like, I don't know what to say, or I don't know what to do, I don't know where to look, and then you're like, oh, it's just Vulky, it's fine.
All
And
right,
then kind of
it's just
relax.
Vulky.
He got to see like me, like the me you guys get to see, which is very like energetic and loud and
Very natural you.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, more natural me. Now, if it had been in a different setting where there's a bunch of new people or something, he wouldn't have
Yeah,
had the
it would
same
have been
experience. I would have been just in the corner looking down, nobody make eye contact or notice me, please. But it wasn't like that. It was really nice. I picked him up at his hotel, said hello to mom Volky and dad Volky, and talked to them for just a couple minutes, and then we kidnapped Volky and took him with us. And yeah, it was really cool. It was fun. So he was telling us
found it.
about your visit too, Avi. Yeah, he was
Oh
telling
yeah.
us about how when you guys met up, he said something about food. You guys met up and got food, or I don't remember, something about
Yeah.
food.
We did get food. I remember so when he met me, I was with my BFF as well the entire time.
Mm.
So he got to meet her as well for a lot of it. And he got to learn firsthand just how actually social I am and how I like to hang out with friends a lot more often than I prefer to be alone. So it was probably just like weird from his perspective, I would say, that I would be hopping between two different people talking different conversations and going back and forth, kind of like how we are doing right now, but I'm like able to like pick up a conversation. Say I would be picking up a conversation with you, Blue, and then just go to a completely different one with Evan, and then still go back and forth like that. uh
Yeah.
it's just something that in real life I can do a lot better than online. uh but it was nice. We went around to the vendor halls of the convention that we were doing. Got to pick up some anime merch. I know that he picked up a poster of some anime. I can't remember which one it is. I don't know. Maybe we'll ask him when if he wants to come onto the podcast and talk about it too. Uh, because it was very interesting meeting Schultze. I do think that I could have done a better job at paying more attention to him because like it's weird because we went to the anime convention completely differently. He went with his parents, but his parents aren't into anime, so he basically went to the convention center a lot of the times alone. Meanwhile, I went up with 9 of my friends. Like I
Yeah,
had an
that's
entire
Yeah.
friend
definitely.
group already here that I was hanging out with, like talking to. Sometimes I would see them across the hall and I would be like, "Oh my goodness, what have you been up to?" and everything like that. So I've been juggling like multiple friend groups well, not multiple friend groups, but multiple friends at the same time. And so I really wish I could have had more time to talk to Schultze. And it also doesn't help that like my friend group, we had a little bit of hotel drama because one of our friend group did not come back to the hotel when we were supposed to change rooms, which
Oh.
meant that we have to pack their stuff for them. So little bit of tea there, but
Ooh, yeah.
overall, I do wish that I could have made a better effort to hang around Bulky. Because like the last day that we actually saw each other, I was very like hypergenic to get the stuff that I needed that I wanted to get the first day. Because like pro tip for conventions, if you're ever going to a convention, never buy stuff on like the first day of the convention. Always do it the
Yeah.
second day, so that way you don't have to carry around the first stuff like all in the first day. Like don't have to go back to the hotel room to drop off stuff. You can just go enjoy the convention. Then the next day, go to the vendor halls, buy the stuff you want, then bring it back to the hotel room, etc., etc. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I hopefully if me and Volky ever do go to the same convention ever again, we will hang out a lot more next time. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's a good guy. It was a lot
It's
of fun hanging out with him.
I will say it is easier said than done because like I was even thinking that myself. Like when Telly first visited me, I was thinking, oh, I should have, said more of this, or I should have maybe talked more during this bit, or it's very easy to kind of look at like what you could have done more of, but it's like, but then I have to think, but for Telly, it was like literally like a very memorable, unforgettable experience. And I think as long as you made that person feel comfortable and as long as they had a nice time, it doesn't matter if you maybe missed out 5% of what you could have done. And I was even thinking like on my last couple days, because after we'd kind of gone from Stavanger to Flekkefjord, there were a couple of days where I wouldn't see Telly for like half of the day, because I'd either be swimming or I'd be just sort of looking around on my own. And I often actually felt a bit guilty about that. I was like, oh, I should have I should have seen him earlier. I should have met up with him sooner. But it's like you can't be perfect, and sometimes it's nice to have a bit of downtime. And regardless, we still had an amazing time, and it was still an unforgettable experience. So you haven't let anybody down by doing that. But I also understand too. It's like you wanted to kind of do more or kind of talk more or something. And it's always hard when you've got limited time. Like when you've only got 1 day or like 2 days, it can be very limiting. And you won't be able to say everything you want to say or do everything you want to do. So
Mm.
I think you did very well, like to just make the effort to, to spend some time with Vulky. And I think that means everything. Um, I also wanted to add on to what Blue was saying too, because Blue talked about like the mannerisms of a person in real life, and oh yeah, that is a big thing. Like, it was very weird to see like Telly talking with his body, if that makes sense, like you moving his arms around, like his
He's
certain
like a
facial
wacky
expression. I'd
inflatable
never
tube man while he's talking.
kind of, but it was just weird it was weird to see movement, period, because all Telly was up to that point was just audio in my ear. I could mentally picture what he probably looked like or how he would probably look when he talks, but like it's just not on your mind when you're speaking to somebody. Like you're just speaking to audio. And in particular with Telly, because I'd never seen his face up until that point. So it was very it was very surreal to actually see his body moving when he was speaking. And I know for him too it was very weird. It wasn't as weird when I came to visit him in Norway because we'd already met, but it was very weird to see the person behind like the behind the voice, and sometimes like when I was driving from the train station into town with him, I'd obviously be looking straight ahead at the road, so I'd hear him talk, and I'd almost like think we were in a call, and then I'd look to my left, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, he's there. He's like sat right next to me." It was so weird. So that whole mannerism thing, I completely vouch for. It is very weird, very surreal.
Oh yeah. I never assume that like people are, I don't know how to best word this without getting a little bit of backlash, but like I never assume anyone that I meet online is real really until I meet them
Yeah,
in real life, if that makes sense.
That's me too.
Like
I
I'd say
get that.
that too.
I know you
Everyone's just an
two
avatar.
I know you
It
two are
is, but
physical
they are.
people, and I know that you two have your own lives and like are actual humans. But like I will disconnect that self like to be
Yeah,
online and be like, you two are voices. You are people who are in my
yeah.
head
It's
telling
an
me that I
avatar.
should do things.
You are,
Yeah.
and but that's also, but sometimes you really have to look at it like that is kind of all we are. Like, although we're online friends and we care a lot about each other and we know each other, it's still a different world. I got to see Telly's world, and there's a lot of depth to it that I'd never seen before. Like, it kind of really like weighs in that this guy like has a life outside of talking to me, like away from this computer. Like when you look at like where Telly's setup was, I'm like, wow, this is literally all. This is the only bit of Telly I know is these computer screens and that chair that he sits in and that microphone, and that's it. Everything else was all a shock to me and was like, wow, like this guy has. And of course, I understood Telly had a life. Of course, I knew that. I knew he was studying. I know all this. But to see it with your own eyes, you go, wow, like we really are just total strangers until you actually physically meet them, and then you realize like what they actually are behind the avatar. And it's crazy. It really is something that like I don't think I'll ever get used to at all.
We had a lot of talking about people today. Before we actually end this off, are there any times where like you guys had planned to meet up but it never worked out? Because there was actually this one time that on my birthday last year, me and my best friend we went up to a little Amish village that was
Oh yeah.
like known for having like good bakeries and stuff like that, and that I've been to before, like when I was a little kid. But I was like, I want to go back up there because I want to try the food out over there. And conveniently, that area is very close by to where a Moodle lives. And so I was asking a
Hmm.
Moodle if like they wanted to meet up possibly while we were there. And originally, like they were like, okay, yeah, sure. Time came, they couldn't make it. They had like other jobs and they were at college at the time, so they had other responsibilities to do at the time. But
Mhm.
were there any like near misses or like times where you guys were going to meet up but it ended up not working out? I know that you meet Booming before, Evan, or am I
No, I've never
mistaken?
met Boomy. It was never actually planned. No, I've actually only had one near miss, and it wasn't anybody from Skade. It was an old friend who I met on my online school. And he was a terrible person. I'm actually glad I never met this person. Um, but
I'm so glad I never met this
but
person. He's a horrible person.
but because England is so small, and because he didn't live like all the way down south, he lived like kind of like center of England-ish, which is actually not that far. It'll take you a day to get here and like spend time here, but like it wasn't relatively that far. And there's a town not far from where I live. It's like a half an hour drive that isn't that far that he would often visit, like on like just for a bit of recreation with his parents, or his mother. I don't really know exactly what was going on there, but anyway, there was one particular time where we knew each other, and he was planning on going there, and he said, "Hey, like we should meet here," and I was like, "Oh yeah, we should." And for whatever reason, I just didn't. I don't know if it was because I don't know. I don't know why I didn't. Like there was no reason. Like I didn't know how much of a nasty person he was at the time, so I don't actually remember what the reason was. I don't know if it's just I never really thought about it. I don't know if it's just I wasn't really interested, so I just never really committed to it. Like I don't know what it was, but that is the closest I can think of. They were literally like a half an hour drive away from me, and we just never went. And he was very annoyed. Like you could tell he was not happy about it, but yeah, it just never came to fruition. We stopped being friends like not long after that, probably like about 6 months. But yeah, it was crazy. That's the only time I've had a near miss.
I had one, a skater, and that was Ice's family was coming to visit. They were actually coming here on vacation. They weren't just coming to see us. And we got sick, and so we were not able to visit with them. So we had a near miss. Mm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's sometimes though, like I think that things happen for a reason though. Like I don't always believe in fate, but I think that the way things happen are how they're supposed to happen. I don't think I was
Yeah,
supposed
I
to meet
agree on
that
that
friend
part.
online. I also think I was supposed to meet Telly the way I did because in another world I never joined Skade. I didn't even notice Skade existed, or I never got close to Telly, or I never befriended Blue to meet Telly. Like so many things had to go right for me to meet Telly in real life and then take the time to visit him in Norway. So I feel
It's
like there
crazy
has to
you're
be
saying this in a
something
Tom
beyond
Scott
control.
cosplay. it,
Yeah.
it's
So
crazy
it's
the
like
ways a red shirt can do to you.
there is growing scientific evidence that is proving that determinism is actually real, which would imply that nothing that we do is decided by us. It is all predetermined, which is actually there's the scientific like argument on do we make our own decisions and is everything random, or is the universe literally doing everything as it's supposed to? And the science is actually unironically pointing us towards the science is doing everything it's supposed to. Everything you think you're doing by conscious choice, you are not. It is all happening as it's supposed to. I don't know exactly how they test that, but like that's what the research is showing anyway. That like it's actually we're getting to a point where it's becoming harder and harder to prove that free will is real. But yeah, dropping off that bombshell. Yeah, I think everything that happened how it's supposed to. I'm very pleased that I met Telly in the way that I did. I'm very pleased I didn't
Everything
meet that
happens for
particular
a
friend.
reason.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it was a very incredible experience, and I look forward to meeting other skaters. That is something I do want to do in the future. I want to meet
It'd be
Rosie. Rosie was
crazy.
talking about
It'd be crazy if for like skater things, you do a podcast with just like you go across the world and meet a bunch of skaters and you do a podcast with them. Every episode is a new skater. You start off
I
in
mean,
Australia, you
honestly,
meet like Taryn, then you go all the way up to like what where's
Arctic.
another country that other people live in? Do we have any skaters in do we have any skaters that live in like Eastern Asia?
I think we have
We have a
one.
Hong Kong one, but they're not very active. They're not very active,
Yeah.
but we do have
Okay.
Hong Kong.
Um,
Well, then go backwards and go to the US instead then. And then go back to the
no, it's
UK.
it's and ironically not a bad idea. I know that like Rosie was talking about meeting, and I definitely want to, but like because I'm back in England, it's a lot more complicated. Like with my home situation, I don't want to like say to like Rosie, like, oh yeah, let's meet at this time, and then I'm like, oh sorry, I can't. I've got stuff going on at home. I don't want to
Yeah.
disappoint or cause anything to happen, so I've told them like I'm very interested and I'm very, very happy to meet you. But we're gonna have to wait because I just don't want us to get tied up and then I have to go, oh, actually, sorry, I can't do that time now. So,
Mm,
and with kind of how things are going, a lot of things are uncertain. So it's just a bit awkward.
there's
But like meeting Telly has really motivated me to do that.
there's a bunch of skaters that like I've become friends with that I do really want to meet. Like I would still love to meet a Moodle. I'd like to meet a BB, honestly. I'd like to meet Blue and you, obviously. Um,
Uh-huh.
BB is great. Like
I feel like
BB,
BB and
there was
me.
no awkwardness. Like we instantly were BB and Blue. Like it wasn't like more so than me and Vulky and more so than even me and Alyssa. Like and even
Mm,
Nen for that matter. I forget. I did have to meet Nen at one point, even though he literally lives with me now. So even meeting Nen, there was anxiety, but like with BB, it was just like you know me, you guys know me. I don't hug people, right? Like I'm just not a
Yeah,
hugger.
you just
You
charged, didn't
gotta
you?
really I gotta really have a connection with you to even be remotely feel like I could hug you. And yeah, I literally ran to BB and gave him a big ol' hug. So it was cool.
oh,
And he was BB. Like there was no like weirdness. It was just instantly like, okay, it's BB. So yeah, I but it was one on one again. It's not a like, like group things.
It's a
That's
lot
where
more
yeah.
like
neutral.
we've joked about a Skade con. It'll never happen for a few reasons. But the reason one of the big things is we're a bunch of autistics. So like meeting you guys one on one or two at a time or something, I can do that, and you'll get to hang out with me, blue me. You not in real life, scared of everything. Can't make eye contact, Kimber. So it's kind of like it's kind of cool when I can meet you guys one on one and be myself. Like Volky and I were ourselves. I was just my typical self with Alyssa. I'm myself with BB as I'm myself. Clearly with Nen, I'm myself. But if I was to do like and have 4 or 5 of you all at once, none of you would get to see any of that with me. You would just see the me that a lot of people in real life see, which is just me staring at the ground and hoping nobody even notices I'm here, kind of thing. So,
You
so I
think
kind
we'll
of
ever
like how
do?
I like how we've all done this.
Think we'll ever do a podcast IRL?
That'd be fun to do. That'd
I
be
wouldn't
actually a
rule it
lot of
out.
fun to do.
That would be really fun.
I think it will happen. I think it could very easily happen. I think that it would just depend on a few things, but I 100% think it could happen. I'd be
Mm,
down
Yeah.
for it.
Okay.
I definitely want to meet. I definitely do want to meet like other people, and I think like I'll tell you what. Like before we kind of close out, I remember one of my other anxieties I had before meeting Telly was like, is he even gonna like the real life version of me? Because like even though I acted very similarly online, like to how I did in real life with Telly, there is still always a difference. There is always like certain things you don't say in real life that I would online, or vice versa. So I was thinking, like, is Telly even gonna like the real me? Like, is Telly gonna like the everyday, in person, physically here Evan? Because the online Evan is a bit different. He's not completely different, obviously, but there are certain things where I am different, and I was worried that like he wasn't going to enjoy real life Evan as much as online Evan. That
I
was an anxiety I had.
I would have that.
I
I had that anxiety about Volky. I did.
I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever had that anxiety when meeting a new person. I think it mostly stems from the fact that, like, especially meeting someone from online into real life, I know that what I'm presenting to them online is genuinely me. So I never have the worry about, like, when I meet them, IRL, that I'm going to be different than what I present online.
Yeah.
The only anxiety I ever do have is that what if I'm being catfished? Which
Mhm.
I still think to my day, even though like I've known so many of these people for like years and years now, that if they were catfishing me, it'd be the longest catfish that I would ever have expected. It would still, that's like the only fear that ever has in the back of my head. But like in terms of meeting people that I have met online, I've never had the anxiety of like, are they gonna like me? Because if they like me online, then they'll like me who I am IRL.
That's
Hmm.
fair. I think like for me, like sometimes because I mask a lot with autism, I often like don't really I often struggle to like know exactly like who I am or like what I'm being. So sometimes I'm like, am I being fake right now? Like I don't for by the way, for what it's worth, I don't actually think that I'm ever being fake online. I feel like I'm being very, very authentic on Skade and online.
Yeah.
But like there are always parts of you that are a little bit different, and it's like there are the way I act online is not exactly how I act in real life. It's not that I'm hiding anything in real life or I'm acting completely differently. There's like I'm basically the same person, but like there are still small subtleties. Like work Evan is different from Skade Evan is different from grandma time Evan that is different from like, and it's not like massive changes. I'm still the core. I'm still like the same person at my core, but you sort of present a little differently depending on the company and what scenario you're in. So
That is true.
I guess I worried. I guess I worried that like there would be too much of a difference between real life Evan and online Evan that it would bother or it wouldn't be as fun for Telly. Even though again we basically are the same person. That was kind of more
Exactly.
my
See, and
anxiety.
I'm different. And you guys are both very similar, but I'm not. I'm in real life, unless we're one on one. I don't think skaters would even recognize me in a big public setting because I'm so loud and like a textrovert, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm a Discordovert. But in real life, I'm very quiet and I don't go out of my way to talk to anyone. I look down a lot. I've been told I look like I'm in pain quite often. Are you in pain? It's like, no, I'm anxious. This is my anxious face. And I, yeah, and then
Wow,
I,
Blue,
and
you
I,
look
and
really constipated right now. Do you need to go to the
are you
restroom?
constipated? Did you just shit yourself? Yeah. So but it is. I always look startled or something, and too. And when I do talk in public, I'm very awkward. I've told you guys twice now. I've had two different people I've talked to when at a store, and both times I walk away and I'm just like, this is why I have no friends. Like literally. Because I'm really awkward. I'm like, hi, I love this. Okay, bye. And then I walk away. Like I don't leave the room. I don't leave that opportunity room to have a conversation and introduce yourselves. It's just I'm really awkward and I know it and it's fine. But it's like Evan said with the masking, I don't want to say I mask on Skade. It's almost the opposite. Like I myself on Skade, I feel comfortable joking around. As you guys know, we joke a lot.
Oh yeah,
We
she
laugh a
has said
lot.
so many slurs to all of us before.
we
Like
we have a really good time. Like we laugh and we have a good time. And but like in real life, I'm more you have as an autistic, and I don't know if either of you have ever struggled with this, but for me it's like, okay, remember to make eye contact, remember, don't do this, don't do that. It's like all these social cue rules are just flooding my brain in image form, like look up, you haven't looked up in a few minutes, look up, okay, move your leg, like all this, trying to act normal, which is the masking, I guess. And because of it, it just shuts me down internally to where I can't really relax and have a good time. But that's with groups. One on one, you get the same Kimber you get here. It's the same.
Mhm.
But outside of one on one, it's just yeah, I'm quite the opposite. So I would worry, and I did worry about, especially with Vulky here. It's like, what if I can't relax? What if I can't get past, that the awkwardness, like what if I can't be myself? And fortunately after like maybe 15 minutes I was myself. Like I was literally
Oh,
singing in the car, like I was being as much as myself as I could be. Same with BB. I was a little more quieter with Alyssa at first. um and but I got, once you warm up and you're like, oh okay, it's Alyssa, I'm good, then I kind
yeah.
of do better. But outside of that, it's hard. I really, so your question to Evan, like about that, I struggled with that quite a bit, and I do struggle with that. I do worry, like like what Evan was saying, I do worry if someone would like find me as entertaining or fun to be with in real life as I am online. So but so
oh,
far I've done well. I just one on one, that's all.
it's very hard, and like it's something that like it is a big anxiety that comes with those sort of connections. And I think like the other thing too, and even beyond that, is like, will they like the real me? Like, will the real Evan in real life, be like fun to Telly, or will he be incredibly annoying and aggravating? But because I'm the guest, he's going to be really polite and not say anything. But then it'll be like when I get on the train, it'll be like "Phew, thank God he's gone." Obviously, those are very
Oh, did he
irrational
not tell you about
fears.
the party they had?
Oh yeah, they
I'm
had
just
a
kidding.
giant party after you
um,
Even
left.
we got Obby and I even got him Evites. It was
Yeah, it was
amazing. Yeah.
crazy.
um,
I called it
also,
the
like,
"Get the hell out of my country" party. Just kidding.
I have a lot of, like I definitely have, like, built a lot of confidence, and I think that traveling on your own requires a great deal of confidence, like, what I did in particular, but, like, it's actually that's the irony of it. It's like I was almost annoyed at myself. How can I have this insecurity about meeting a friend who I literally get along with so well, but I'm able to just get on a plane and fly to another country like it's an average Tuesday. Like this that shouldn't be possible. So it's annoying where the brain goes to and what the brain worries about when you're proving against it every day how like those things aren't an issue at all. It's weird like how that works.
Oh, well,
It's
I think that is a good place to end it off on. I think this
I
was a
agree.
very productive
I've had
chat.
I've had a lot of drinks here. I need to my bladder's getting
Had a
full
Yeah,
with
word.
your
all these
bladder, I can
Skade
see it right
the
now. You
Skade
are leaking
cups.
through your pants. Yeah, you need
Yeah.
to go
Did you
use the
not have a
restroom.
beverage, Evan?
Yeah,
No, I
Evan
didn't.
wasn't drinking at all
Thank
this
you.
entire time.
There you go. I my bladder is full. You can keep drinking there, sir.
Well, this has been a very very good skate of things. I'm pleased I
Number
got to
2.
sort of talk a little bit about Norway, and most of it will be stuff people have already heard on
I
Skade. But
am
it was nice to kind of give a play by play.
I'm extremely proud of Blue for not mentioning how jealous she was of you this entire time. Like
I'm just really quiet, sir.
yeah, you
Yeah, you were quiet.
you were such a good girl today. Head
Thank
pats for
you.
you. Okay.
You were very quiet. But
All right.
it's progress.
Well, I think that's it for this episode of Skater Things. I'm Obby. This is Evan. This is Blue.
Hi.
And we'll see you again next time. Thank you all for watching.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.